Guys, welcome to the next episode of the Mastery Podcast. We're starting an entirely new installment with this episode 11. I'm your host, Master Chris Malarkey, fifth degree black belt in traditional Taekwondo and owner of CMTKD in Belleville, New Jersey. Before I introduce this amazing next guest, guys, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button located somewhere on your screen so I can continue bringing this amazing content to you wherever you are around the world. Without further ado, I think this man needs really no introduction. I think I'm really sitting here with one of Detroit's legends, and a producer that really needs no introduction whatsoever. I'm sitting here right now, joined by DJ House Shoes. Sir, thank you for being here today. It is a pleasure and an honor. I can't even believe I'm speaking with you.
I'm glad to be here, brother. I wish everybody talked about me like that.
Well, all enlightened by this mastery process. This podcast, like I said, before we kind of hopped on, is all about sort of discovering the process and getting obsessed with the process of what it takes to master different crafts. I've spent the first 10 episodes of this podcast really focusing on martial arts and martial artists, giving them highlights and whatnot. And I found my way to you actually just really, it was Dilla month. It is Dilla month, obviously. We're in that, and I get like this every year. I kind of just, hop right into all the stuff, and I just couldn't. I was like, I gotta try to talk to this guy. I gotta see, and somehow I just literally shot you a message before I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and I was like, hold on a second. So I thought, this guy responded to me, and like you probably get all kinds of inboxes and DMs and stuff like that. So this was really great, tremendous opportunity for me, first and foremost. We're just gonna talk about you and what you've been up to, how you've been doing with COVID. Why don't we start there? How you been?
Man, I don't even know if I got that shit right now, to be honest with you. It's crazy, man. My folks had that shit a few months ago, and I've been trying to steer clear, and my whole role, just in entertainment, my job is after the finish line of all this shit.
Correct.
So I've just been, financially responsible as much as I can. I'm sitting on that unemployment, and yeah, man, the whole house got COVID over here right now, and wow. I don't.
Wow.
If it's like racial or what the fuck is going on?
It's been crazy to spend the past 2 years in sort of a time that we read about in textbooks, right? Where we kind of flip back the pages of time, and this is not the only pandemic we've been through, and likely so many more that have not been recorded in the Earth's time. But to live through one, I think is kind of unique, to say the least. But I'm glad you're safe, at least feeling a little bit better today. So
yeah, man, shout to the kids, man, because the kids is handling this shit way better than we are.
Yeah, I think so.
Watching my kids pivot right into it and then kind of just fall out of it.
Yes. Yeah,
it was inspiring.
I think personally not being. I have 3 of my own, and I believe not having to be, although they have their difficulties obviously through all this, especially with being so sedentary the first year, not being sure whether we could go out and do sports and walk around. And I just remember my experience was, being as active as I have been for the past 30 years in martial arts. It's not like I spend a lot of time sitting down. So this is effectively my sit down time. And I get to spend it with special people like yourself. And we did a lot of that last year. And then all of a sudden I was just like, we got to fix this problem because this is going to become bigger and bigger. And kids with bellies, it doesn't make any sense. We got to get these guys moving around. And we figured it out. But, we just ended up coming from a karate championship today. So it was great that was like our sort of a preview of normalcy sort of returning. Which was good on that end. But I wanted to delve back into you, man. So there's a lot of stuff obviously on the internet, as you know. You're very what I gravitated toward you. I listened to a lot of interviews with you, the Bling 147, a lot of stuff, Crate Diggers. I spent a lot of time in the YouTube hole, and I got a really genuine, humble sense from you that you're really just about the music and really about promoting other people. I rarely hear you talk about yourself. I mean, it's just like and I feel connected to that in that sense. I would like to think I'm that way as well. So it just it really resonated with me that someone who's got your stature is sitting, and it rarely happens where you see someone of your stature promote other people ahead of yourself or in front of yourself. So,
Well,
yeah.
devil's advocate. Before anything, I'm a DJ.
Correct.
And before I was a DJ, I just wanted to be the first motherfucker with the tapes. I wanted to have that shit first and put all the homies up on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I found out through DJing, my homie was a DJ and he had all the test presses. So that's how you got the shit first. You know what I mean?
Right.
But just the ego of DJs is, you know, there's definitely technical strengths that some have that they're fucking crazy with what they do. But at the end of the day, you're playing other motherfuckers' music.
Right.
So how can you have an ego?
Right.
When you're playing, your whole job is playing other motherfuckers' music. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I'm definitely, a lot of people think that I'm a real arrogant, cocky asshole, but I'm a conduit. I'm a vessel. I share the most amazing shit you ever heard in your life years before anybody knows about the shit. It's almost painful to be so ahead of the curve, like to be 5 years ahead on a motherfucker's career where it's too early a lot of times. That's how people would view it. You know what I mean? But I get in and you perk my ears up, we're off to the races. The music is all that matters.
I love
what
that.
I mean?
I love that. I'm also loving the background to all the vinyl records, which we'll definitely get around to as a prominent man back there that we'll spend a portion of this episode dedicated to for sure. But I love that realness about you too, because I feel like you know, in martial arts and my craft, I'm not sure you've had any experience in martial arts or in fighting in general, but I feel like this podcast really is designed to highlight the fact that we actually are all fighting in some way, either against something or to get something in some way. We're either fighting against disorder or chaos or trying to organize ourselves a little more and bring a little more structure to our daily lives, I guess, as we get older. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be martial arts per se, but that's one of the big takeaways from my time spent. And I feel like you're an artist essentially as a DJ. You're a musician, and your job.
You know, and I keep it a buck.
Yeah, you definitely
keep it a buck, and a lot of people have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Let there be a reflection on them.
Right, 100%.
Keep your ears out and pay attention to what people say about me, because all I do is keep it a buck. So if you have a problem with somebody that's keeping it a buck, what's going on on your page, homie?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I check
and I understand we've had a lot of cultural growth in regards to being sensitive to different groups of people, but my honest feelings about the era we live in is that motherfuckers is just too sensitive.
Gotcha.
Just too sensitive. It's a lot of oversensitivity in every group. Like, life is cold, you know, it's cold, it's hard, and the truth is fucking cold and it's hard.
Absolutely.
And if somebody says some real shit and you figure out how to take them off of this plane figuratively, once again, look in the motherfucking mirror, man. What's the problem? Right.
You know I mean? I feel like that's a big nod to something I share as well, where I practice a very traditional form of what I do. So this is essentially like the way it was intended to be done from day kind of one. And it's hard to maintain some of the elements, the basic elements of our humanity, I think, as the technology grows and advances. Where I feel like I'm in a particular pocket where I can maintain, you know, the eye contact and the, you know, ability to talk and cooperate with someone in an environment that's not very comfortable. Because when you're fighting across from somebody else, you're not necessarily always, at your best or keeping the restraint. You have to learn how to develop things and grow in a very unnatural sort of environment, right? Which is where I spend a lot of my time teaching, is in cases where people do get to the brink of being able to lose it, but then bring it back down. So I feel like that's kind of a traditional value that is harder to keep as we go.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to that, I've learned to control myself.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm always going to speak my truth, but it's just over the last, like, you know, 4 or 5 years, there's been these internet fucking meltdowns over house shoes. And it's like, do I really have the fucking time and the energy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I got to the point now where I have 1,600 notes in my phone.
Wow.
You know, the note function where you can just like type.
100%. I'm always in it.
So I used to just type that shit and post it.
Right.
Now I type that shit and I count to a good 20 and I'm like, do you have the energy? Like, yeah, what you just wrote down is 100% real.
Right.
But I used to have fun with it. Like back in the Twitter days, I would just set the table.
Right.
Like, let's go, homie. You know what I mean? I ain't got shit else to do. I broke my Twitter habit. I don't even use Twitter anymore.
Right.
Because it's like, for what? You know what I mean?
I followed you on Twitch the other day. I was just looking at, you know, just trying to find any platform to kind of like access more of your music. I got you on Spotify. I was listening, going through albums, not just for this podcast, but I was just listening. Tremendous music, man. Like the production, is like, it's knocking, man. It's like, I fell in love with instrumentals because I felt like I listened to so many songs and had so many words in my head, and most of my job is speaking. It was like, I just need something to be able to pull me out of, you know, this trance of cooperating externally and verbally and putting me back into like a mental state where I could almost like meditate as I go. You know what I mean? Throughout my day. Let me remember the last beat I heard. And you know, I would say even before I started martial arts, I've always accompanied martial arts with music. I've even written about it. Like, you gotta be in tempo, disrupting rhythm, and it's like everything sort of comes back to music in some way, and numbers.
And the math and the structure, right?
Yeah, the math and the structure, exactly. And I feel like producers, especially on your level, get that. You know, they understand, hey, you know, there's a math to this, but there's an art to it as well. Now, there's the same thing sort of in my business, but, you know, it's just a different focus, but it's literally kind of the same road, just parallel, right? We all kind of climb different mountaintops to get to the same view at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Mastering what we do. So I guess my question now to you is, what got you into music? If we can kind of take it back, what got you like starting music production, anything?
I mean, just music in general. Both of my parents were musical, not personally, but they both enjoyed music.
Right.
My father and my mother had separate record collections. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
At any given time, you know, from Steely Dan to Stevie Wonder to, you know, Kenny Rankin, Frank Sinatra, Miles Davis. It just wasn't a particular thing. You know what I mean? It was all, but it was all quality shit. It wasn't like pop hits. So I just, you know, I grew up in those surroundings. My parents got divorced. I would go to the record store with my pops on the weekends. That was ritual. Gotcha. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Then when I was in fucking, you know, 11th, 12th grade, being a hip hop motherfucker since like the 4th or 5th grade, then finally finding out the homies made beats and shit.
Right.
Oh, shit. And just, okay, here we go. 4-track, 9-volt battery powered sampler, looping up drums, finding shit to go on top, meeting JD, you know, buying a 3000, having JD show me how to work the SP1200 in the basement. You know what I mean? Like, just
mind blown.
Yeah.
100%. And
life, I mean, sometimes life makes the decisions for you. You know what I mean? That's
interesting. It seems like when I look at your life, at least from what I could find on the internet, trying to draw like sort of a timeline, if you will, like you spent so much time with so many important people, producing for a lot of important people too. Illa J, I read LZ, Proof, Danny Brown. Like, it's like, and you've crossed paths with so many profound, prolific people. And
it's crazy having all your fucking heroes in your phone book.
Yo, it is like, yeah, that's what I kind of feel like it is. And at least on your end. And it's like, I wonder what you think about that retrospectively, looking back on, except with
I don't recommend it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't recommend it to anyone.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, man. It could be a bummer. You know what I mean?
100%.
There's a lot of demystification and humanization. I wish we could have just kept them the gods.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
A lot of them funny as fuck, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, when you get to know them,
I just have a really bad habit. You can look at it either way. It's either a great habit or it's a terrible habit.
Right.
As soon as I smell some fuckery, nah, homie. I'm not. Nope. I'm from Detroit, man. We don't fuck with people we don't like.
Yeah. I read that. I got that. I definitely got that sense. With the Detroit era that you kind of came up in, and I guess starting there, being really like an icon there. Did you ever visualize or envision yourself when you started out, making those little tracks and doing things with those friends of yours that made music? Did you see yourself automatically as like, okay, I want to be a producer, I want to make music? What was there anything that captured you about the making music process?
I mean, I had it in me.
Yeah.
I had it in me from the jump because like the first beats were decent.
Right.
It's like I can do this shit. You know what I mean? But it was never looking down the road.
Gotcha.
It was always looking at what's right in front of me. It was always, you know what I mean? Like it was never any of that, okay, I'm gonna do this and then it's gonna do this and that. Even
right.
with Street Corner, even with my record label.
Right.
All it is existence. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like,
love that.
Internet might be gone tomorrow. Them records ain't going fucking nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
Records ain't going nowhere. Them records gonna be here until this shit ain't here no more.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal, man. That's the whole, it was always like that. Like, oh shit, let me get on. Let me borrow the 4-track, bro. Let me hold the 4-track in the sampler.
Beautiful.
Yeah, okay, word. I'm in fucking at the crib at mom's house, fucking losing my motherfucking mind. Oh shit, I can do this too. Not only like it's crazy when you find out that the homies are doing it. Because of course there's gonna be some type of scene somewhere.
Right.
Or area, but until you see it, you ain't part of it. And I've always been completely honored how, I was just kind of accepted. I just love this shit, man. From the jump, people just accepted me. I never really had to go through the who's the white boy shit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like Proof accepted me immediately. All these motherfuckers from the scene, man. And then, like I said, life makes decisions for you sometimes. I got hired at St. Andrews Hall.
Right.
And I got to fucking be in charge of what the motherfucking city listens to for the next 10 years.
That's pretty crazy.
And I don't play ball. I'm selfish. I play what the fuck I like.
Right.
I'm in a real good place. You're in a real good place. You know what I mean? Like, never played ball. Like, it's funny. One of the first questions you asked me was like, I don't like sports.
I gotta ask him while he's on just to see maybe if I could find, something that hasn't been put out on the internet yet. But no, again, the musical content is really where the focus is for me, because it's really been a thing. I mean, again, I've never produced any music before. I love to listen to music. I love instrumentals. I really got into the process by listening to, I literally stood up in my chair in college when I listened to Dilla. I stood up I still remember where I was. It's like, who is making this? I was like, this is—
How old are you?
I am 33.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I'm a young guy. I think still a couple years to hold on to it. But he died in 2006, and I probably did all the research I think I possibly could, far. But it was like one of those moments where I went down and I found stuff on YouTube, and kind of went down the rabbit hole from there. And then I was like, let me look this guy up, and I was like, whoa! I don't know if you ever were at a point in your life where you're like, yo, I could give up the 6 months I just lived if I could go back 6 months. and be right there when this person was still around, and or just around that scene or around that energy, because it was too late by the time I started listening, to be quite frank. But the impact obviously is profound. I put my sister on it. My sister put everything. It's like I feel like that's everybody. Like everyone in that pocket of the world. It's not particular to me, but you shared a special relationship with the late producer J Dilla, and that really, I guess, was like a special. Had to be one of the most special moments and times in your life. So, can you shed some light on how you guys met up and what he was like? And it's all coming from my time listening to your interviews, because you said something really great. You were like, well, just imagine, one of your homies just makes the most amazing stuff that you would ever hear.
There it is.
I love that answer.
So it's that fucking simple, yo. It's that simple.
Yeah, crazy.
And I understand like the whole deification, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's ridiculous sometimes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What was it like to, like motherfuckers' eyes get wide, like they get so wide they take up like half of their skull.
Yeah.
Like, what was it like to breathe the same air as then they'd be like, as James DeWitt Yancey.
Right.
Like, bro, he made dope ass beats, man. Like, chill out. Like, chill out. He was a person.
Right.
He was a motherfucker from the east side that was cool as fuck. Sometimes he could be a fucking asshole. Most of the time he's cool. And his beats are fucking shitting on everybody. He was the best. But he was a regular ass person, he liked to eat fried shrimp. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Well, a lot of us have like those like sort of hero. I think you could probably relate. Like a lot of people, and we sort of touched on this earlier, which is I think an interesting point. I just was thinking about it today, where it's interesting how your heroes to you change over time. Not just your perception of them, but them in general.
Yeah.
That person, and we don't ascribe enough even room for our own parents to change. We feel like at age 40 that our parents should be the same exact way that they were when we were age 7. Right. Everyone's going through a maturation process, but to some and to many, really, Dilla's like, including myself, I just never heard anything like that. To this day, probably won't ever, but never heard anything like what I heard. And I was in University Hall at Montclair State University. I was supposed to be working on a project. I spent the rest of my day listening to Dilla stuff and I just kept coming over stuff. And you don't know whether you're really, finding true, genuine stuff on YouTube. Like, is this really him, or did someone layer it with something? But
it's been a lot of fuckery. It'd be fun, man. Like motherfuckers will put up like funny ass Frankenstein ass beat tapes, act like it's new shit, and then it'll be like someone else's beat in there for some reason, like one or two beats toward the end. Like it's like, what the fuck are y'all doing, man? What y'all doing, man? I hate a lot of these Dilla motherfuckers, man. It's disturbing because I've been harping on it a lot this month. Yeah. Y'all need to start saying I heard or I read before because cats be trying to come up with like new facts and new pictures, like new beats and all this weirdo shit. Right. Y'all need to deal a picture ain't nobody seen. It's weird, man. Like this, what the fuck does that have to do with these beats?
Right.
I've never seen some shit where, I'm sure it happens all the time, but just when you're a fan, it just kind of mutates into some other shit where it's like show off day. It's like, who's got I got this one, and
right.
It's just weirdo shit, man. Yeah, everybody was fronting. Motherfuckers trying to create a whole new facade off of this shit. And everybody was fronting.
Right.
I've been saying that all week too. Like, none of y'all believe me.
Right. No, I've seen a lot of the posts on your.
None of y'all believe me.
Yeah. But your time with him, when did you guys collab, end up like meeting up?
I met him in '94 at Street Corner at the record shop. Smoked a joint in his car after work. He played some beats. Shit was crazy. It was like hearing, hip hop shit for the first time. Say it all the time. It's like a reset button. And he's from my city, and he's got like the illest shit, and it keeps getting better. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Every time it's just a little bit better than it was last time. And I had the platform, so I was the legs. Like he made the records, and I was the legs. I crammed that shit down everybody's fucking throat. Out of town homies came through, dubbing Fantastic one for him. You know what I mean? I planted them seeds. Like
amazing album. Amazing.
Seattle, Toronto shit. Like
amazing.
You know, Jake One and Moss would come to the crib, digging sessions, attic, and they would sleep on the fucking floor. And I remember I played them that slum shit, and they lost their fucking mind.
Wow.
99.9%. No, 98.6. 98.6% of people that I've ever played, like, those moments, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers usually ain't fronting. They're usually like, God damn, this shit is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a couple weirdos out there, though.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely was a strange sound to my ears, but I never could pinpoint why it was so different, you know, because I had spent much time in the field. You know, kind of like move around to like whatever you feel is good for you, whatever sort of touches you in some way, some levels of your subconscious, whatever you were listening to while you were in the womb, who knows? But combination of those things. But when I listened to him, it really changed how I thought about really the process of like what did it take to make that sound? Is it an easy thing? Is it a hard thing? And then obviously over time I educated myself, you know, looking at, you know, not just like Facebook group discussions and whatnot, but literally like listening to artists like yourself, you know, really be able to, because of the fact that you can speak plainly about it means you understand it on a level that's beyond me. So it's he's a one-on-one, man. Like yeah.
No one else. I think the most kind of succinct way I can put it is nobody else could translate records like he could.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's like he was a translator, and the records it's just a foreign language. Right. And he could take any bits of that language and write a story.
That's crazy.
And it's the craziest shit you ever heard, and he could do it in like 15 minutes.
You said that. Like you said you were down.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, man. Like it's really ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like, why do you think he was so cocky? Wouldn't you be that cocky too? If you was making that shit in like 19 minutes.
Right. Well, you said I also did a lot of research, and I came across one interview I remember where you were like, you know, what can you do in 15 minutes? Like he was already done. And moving on to the next thing. And then there was another part, like layering this like kind of mastery discussion, right? Where he was actually, which I'm fascinated with this part, where I think he was making, if I'm not mistaken, a beat for, I believe, a Tribe Called Quest, Q-Tip, and he was getting upset because it took him longer than 10 minutes to get it done.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah,
like,
to get a whole joint.
Insane in 10 minutes. Like you could find your sample probably in 10 minutes, you know, maybe
not though. Maybe not even 10 minutes.
Maybe not even 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me, really. I think the biggest thing I took, and I also listened to interviews with his mother. Many of those interviews. I actually had the privilege of going to see his MPC 3000 in the Moog in the African American Museum this past summer. I took my family and we all went, and I said, I have to stop here. Like I said, whatever we do, I don't care what you do in this museum. Right. We'll start at the bottom. I need to make it to the music spot for many reasons. I said, but the one in my mind, just keeping it real. I said, I gotta get in front of that MPC. And it got
absolutely.
Yeah, I had to. I was like, and this is something he bought. This is a tool. So for the fact that someone requested that, you know, it be in a museum is just, it's beyond me. It says more than really what words can express, right?
Yeah, I mean, better late than never. Yeah. I'm glad somebody there was of the mind to make that happen, because shit like that don't happen.
Right.
Because he was a secret still for the most part. Motherfuckers still don't know who the fuck JD is. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know how, man. That's crazy.
Like average person on the street, like you ever heard of J Dilla? They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's not that he's slept on or underrated. It's just people are fucking stupid and simple.
Yeah.
Humans are simple creatures.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we always have this shit. We get upset that everybody ain't hip. Fuck it. Let them sleep.
Let it rock.
Let them sleep, man.
Yeah.
You losing sleep. Worrying about people that sleep. You know what I mean?
Right. It was cool to like just to be there. And I took like a few minutes to like, I took a while to sort of process, like sort of like seeing like almost like Yoda kind of coming in on like a hologram call with like the Jedi Council. I was like, I wonder, like just trying to envision him sitting in front of, you know, an instrument that was so profound. Like, I mean, you got Pete Rock's SP1200 and you've got the these are the ones like that I know about, the MPC 3000 that are like those are the tools. And it's just crazy that he was able to translate so many albums that were unknown. Much like yourself, like you put everybody on, and you do. It's like JD took from so many different places and corners of music where people weren't getting their props, and all of a sudden now we're hearing, and in a very different way. He never duplicated the same sound. It was like and I've listened to many of his interviews. He was like, I hear something, I get inspired to make something, but not like what I just heard.
Yeah.
You know, like just to go down in the basement and, you know, call Pete Rock and say, yo, what are you up to? And Cass is working around the clock. You know what I mean? So it's just a fascinating process. Is it, when you were, I guess, working with him, what was that? Can you describe what that process was like for him? Like, was he verbal about it? Was he sort of like?
Well, no, I would just go over there. Like I said, I was the legs. I was not the DJ for like JD or Slum Village, but I was the DJ for Detroit.
Right.
So I would go over there and chill. I post up and he's playing shit. He's making me a tape. He would make me these tapes to play at the club. I bring the tape deck down to the club on a Friday night. You're hearing shit months ahead.
Right.
Super exclusive shit. Playing shit the day they recorded it. You know what I mean? Playing players the day they recorded it on a tape, on an Ampex 20-minute master cassette.
Listening to where he pulled that from too, like it's still one of my favorite tracks.
Silly's an alien, man. It's fucking unbelievable.
And I'm like, and I told my father, I was like, listen to this. I put it in my father's ears. You know, he's more into the rock and roll kind of scene.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. I said, listen to this. And he was like, you know, which is the sample, right, of, you know, where he was getting it from. And I was like, all right. I said, now, listen to this. And he was like, yo, what is that? That's the first thing he asked me. He's like, what? He's like, how did he do that? I was like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm spending all this time, you know, my free time when I'm not doing XYZ, trying to figure it out. And, you know, there've been breakdowns on, you know, Fuse and the Vox and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I think that stuff only, if you could correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it only touches the surface.
Oh, man.
Of the process. I think it only touches.
Oh, you've been fucking dead for 16 years.
Yeah.
16 years.
Yeah. Nobody
caught up. And we're still hearing shit that we ain't fucking heard before, man.
That's crazy.
16 years later. Heat. We're hearing Heat. And it's not like them joints are 16 years old.
Right.
Them joints is like 25 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
23 years old.
That is nuts.
Like, and it's always, you know, knock on wood. And if it all runs out, fuck, we got a lot of music to listen to. So be it.
Is there really a lot of that stuff? I mean, it's just really even for my exploration, like, is there really that much of is the anthology of his music that expansive? Because
the fucked up thing is, it's not that expansive.
Right.
But it's a lot of music.
A lot of music. Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's not like I got thousands and thousands of Madlib beats.
Right.
You know what I mean? Maybe we might have 1,000. I might have like 1,000 JD beats.
1,000.
Dilla beats.
1,000.
Might have 1,000.
Wow. And you're talking like
I'm not talking about just everything. I'm not talking about like beat tape beats. I'm talking about 1,000 different beats, period. Whether it be Busta shit, Common, beat tapes, this, that. You know what I mean?
insane, man.
A lot of fucking music, man. It's a lot of music. I think it's like 38 gigs.
38 gigs, man.
Before there might be about 38 gigs.
That's like half a standard iPhone memory practically. Like that's pretty nuts, man. And
yeah, I just handed that shit off to Frank. So Frank got everything. So my hands, I'm showing the world now, like,
right. Oh.
My hands are clean. Frank got all that shit.
Right.
All that rah-rah shit.
Right.
It's a roller coaster ride, but we all good, man. Read the book.
An interesting part I found in one of the interviews you did, it might have been for Blame 147, was you guys you and JD almost tussled, which I thought, I was like, what? So I'd asked you about sports, but you said, you guys are gonna roll in the grass for a little while over some records, and but you guys like squashed it and figured it out.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yeah, it's in the book, man.
Yeah.
Everything is in the book, y'all. If y'all really fuck with Dilla,
Dan Charnas, Dilla time.
That shit is a document, man. Like, bless that man. The work he put in, that shit it's very, very thorough.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Here's how powerful the book was to me, because I love to read. I read all the time. And I can't get enough of the reading. When I first heard about the book, I immediately sent, it was like sort of, on this weird Facebook group somewhere where they're like, J Dilla lives forever or something like that. And I came across it and I was like, all right, this is coming out February 1st. So I shot my sister a text. I said, be on the lookout for this book. You probably want to pre-order. I actually haven't even gotten it. I call every bookstore the day after it comes out. And it's on back order everywhere.
Yeah.
Can't find it. I called one bookstore. I was like, yo, if you even look at this book, call me first. I will stop teaching to come grab this book from you, because I want to read about the process of what this man went through to make all this prolific music. Me and you were talking about right now, like you said, 16 years later. So
yeah, they're all gone. That first batch is all gone.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah. Number 4, New York Times bestseller.
Wow. Yes, I saw that. Shout out to Dan Charnas.
Yeah, man.
For what I'm sure is an amazing piece. I've heard some
audio book is fire too, man. You can listen to that shit while you
copy. Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like when I get that thing in my hands, I'll sit right here, sort of in my school by myself, and just run through it.
I read that shit in like 2 days.
Yeah, and spend your time. And are you, obviously he makes mention of your time with JD, was there any part of that book, Dilla time, that you did you have like a favorite part?
Oh man, yeah, but I don't want to say it. It's a spoiler because it's kind of like right towards the end of it.
We'll let some more time pass before we get there. We'll let some more readers get in on the batches, but they will be releasing.
I'll just say this. I can only say it as a hint. Yeah. My son's name is mentioned in the book, and in the context and the way that he said my son's name in that book, like that shit. When he did some readings to me before they dropped it. He did readings with a lot of people just to run shit by and double check.
Yeah.
And like when he read that segment to me, man, my face got wet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very serious. I was like, man, his pen he has a very special. Yeah, his pen is very special, man. And that was just so extra super personal. It was some shit that I would have never thought would have been involved in the tale. You know what I mean?
Right. That's huge. Huge.
Yeah, but to give my son relevance when my son is named after.
Right.
My son's named after Dilla and Proof. My son's name is James Deshaun Buchanan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, shit is heavy, yo.
That is heavy. That is heavy. I don't even know what to say. I mean, as a father, I could understand, it's like sort of, being anyway involved, with not just their excellence, but you know, for them to have that connection to your history too,
Right.
in such a way is, I guess it's really, we can't even really put it into words.
Yeah.
We really can't. But that's dope though. But there's definitely going to be more copies of that book coming out. Hopefully,
Oh yeah.
I called like 3 or 4 stores. Like, yo, whoever calls me, that's where I'm going to go pick up.
Yeah, be careful for the bootleggers. Dan was telling me there's people that like, oh, it's terrible. People are getting ripped off.
Yeah.
They'll just take a cover and it's like 30, it'll be like a 30-page booklet about some other shit that they just put.
I heard about that. I heard something about that as well. Well, you know, everyone's trying to do what they can in these times.
Get money. Just be careful.
Yeah, I definitely will. So favorite JD album, favorite track, or favorite
Welcome to Detroit.
Welcome to Detroit. Gotcha.
Absolutely. By and far, like unquestionable.
What resonates with you about that album in particular? Is it more is it just the production end, or is it, you know, the lyrics and tandem?
It was his, I mean, just in my opinion, it's his best piece. It was his introduction, and it was just fucking the most, man, it was just the most perfect record.
Right.
Not detracting. It's fucked up in this era. You can't, when you compliment something, people take it as an insult. Because they take it as you saying that something else isn't as good as it is.
Correct.
And it's like, shut your motherfucking mouth, dog. Like, you ask, you know what I mean? Like, this is, yeah. The other epiphany I had recently was, you know, we're all just talking about opinions at the end of the day. So,
right.
We just have to learn to stop saying the best and start saying our favorite.
There is that too. That's a good way of looking at it, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Well, we have all those, you've been part of, well, I'm sure you've shut down a lot of those like GOAT conversations, and, you know, this person's this and this person, like even Michael Jordan, I pointed this out to a few of my students. It's like, if you've done some of your research, because, you know, Jordan played at a time where I was still young. You go back and look at a lot of those interviews, he doesn't ever talk about himself as being the best of all time, ever.
Right.
He's like, I don't even know if you can compare eras. I know this guy was great. I know I took my game from him. Very humble.
Yeah.
You know,
but
like,
he was always trying to get better. So you can't think of yourself as the best.
Correct.
Correct. That's when it's over.
You have to continue to evolve, right? Like, is it the same thing? And my question now is, it's the same thing in music. Is there like, because you guys are artists, and there's a select few of you that are special places and do really special things, like what you do with your music, dog. Really like fantastic. Like I was listening to you all of last week, heavy. And I was like, yo, this guy mixes some great stuff. Like it's not even comparing you to any. I could listen to you without comparing you to anyone, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
Just listening to you for the sake of listening to you. And I don't know what your musical process is like, but I would like to know like what goes into making a beat, even if it's just basics, how you do things, and maybe even if you could speak a little bit to what makes you different in terms of how your relationship with music and how you can pull whatever you need when you DJ and when you sample.
Well, just for clarity and transparency, I haven't made a beat proper in about probably 13 years.
Gotcha.
Since I had children.
Gotcha.
When I did make beats, it would be in periods. Like I was never a wake up, you know,
all the way
coffee and cereal and get to the studio. Like, nah, man. I never gave a fuck about any of that shit. I just like making beats.
Right.
I like making beats when I felt like it. You know what I mean? I'd make beats for a few months, then I wouldn't make beats for like 6 months.
Right.
And I make beats for like 6 months. And I wouldn't make beats for like a year. Then I make beats for like 6 months. I wouldn't make beats for like 6. You know what I mean? It was never.
Gotcha. Periodic.
Yeah. I don't have crazy catalog. All the shit I ever made is fucking 2 shoe boxes of floppies and a stack of zips, maybe like 10 zip discs.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But if I didn't like the shit, I turned it off.
Right.
I didn't save it. You know what I mean? So I was never into like contemporary relevance. I was trying to make heat, you know what I mean? Like, and even then people talk about like looking down, did you ever like have a plan on, even with that, I wasn't trying to make timeless music. Just trying to make some shit that was really fucking good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I was
like, this shit's gonna last forever, dog. You know what I mean?
And to your own ear, making music just so like for you.
All for me, man.
All for you.
All for me.
An internal
In the first place, it's for me. I have a really good ear for music.
Right.
I'm a very good judge. The honesty comes into play too.
Right.
Can't lie to me. My ears don't lie to me. It don't matter whose shit it is. You do blind taste tests, all that. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Just me. And then after that, if someone else likes it, that's cool. But I ain't trying to make some shit that I don't primarily like for anybody else.
Right. 100%.
You know what I mean?
100%. Gotcha. And then just, I guess, is it like a process where like, you know,
super casual, bro.
Yeah, super casual. But
this could be devastating when I tell you how casual it is.
It doesn't seem like it. You know what I mean? From the outside.
Oh no, fucking have something to drink, roll up some blunts. You know what I mean?
Go
through some records.
Wow. And then
wait a minute. What's that? Yeah. And if you find the drums first, you chop the motherfuckers up. And you start looking for the samples. Oh, there's that. Then, you know,
start going.
Wheels just start turning. Sometimes your hands just start moving by themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
Muscle memory. That's
crazy. Have you put in, there's a theory to mastery. I'm really fond of this author, Robert Greene, who's written
the 10,000?
48 Laws of Power, yep, and 10,000 hours.
Oh, yeah.
Are you where are you on your 10,000 hour scale? Are you way beyond? Are you right?
I'm probably about like 18, 20.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So you could sit there blindfolded and just boom, 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 and walk up and get out.
Yeah.
You had to make a beat to save your life in 10 minutes. You could do it.
I'm still, you know, the new era, this new grimy rap shit is mostly loops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when I say I haven't made a beat, I mean I haven't made a proper turn that motherfucker on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Go forth from
I make loopers. I'll do some loopers. You know what I mean? I got a small little catalog of joints with artists from the last decade. From just, you know, I'll just be listening to records at the crib, and oh wait a minute, pull it back, put it in Serato, loop that motherfucker up, record it for 3 minutes. He would be great on that. Send it off, bang. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super casual.
Super casual, bro. Like for real.
And I guess that speaks to, I don't know if you consider yourself a master of your craft, but it sounds like if you're able to describe it that way.
Oh, I think I can.
You must be.
There's not really too many. What I'm trying to figure out is how I can monetize, because I can get anybody's shit together.
Right.
2 minutes.
Right.
What you doing? What do you need done? Okay, bang, 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 bang. You're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've been getting motherfucking shit together for years.
Wow.
For years. Straight up. Like a life coach.
Right.
Personal, business, especially music related. Yeah, it's just easy. Light bulb dealer. I get really good ideas, and I hand them out to people, because what else am I gonna do?
That is true.
You know what I mean? Like,
that is true. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You're helping other people get better. That's the whole point. That's the whole point with the record label. You know what I mean? With playing music that, you know, the majority of the music that I play, you haven't heard it unless you're like a really, really deep head. Real heady person, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, man. Everybody else listens to all the same shit. Some of that shit is cool, but there's so much other heat.
Right.
There's so much heat out here. It's crazy.
And Street Corners Music, from what I read, you guys still are one of the few record labels that still press music to vinyl. Is that true?
No, I mean there's definitely been an incredible rise in vinyl production.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It takes like 10 months to get a record press now. It used to take 3. It's awful. But yeah, man, it's personal, man. In that way, it's casual as well. You know, it's very personal. I don't. Oh, this record would do good, but like everybody's gonna like this. Nah, no. If it makes me feel some kind of way,
right, and you would.
I have a very highly critical ear. Make me feel really good. It's gonna make a lot of people feel really good.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
We're just gonna put it on a piece of plastic, and if they get it, they get it, and if they don't, they will eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Did you used to do I found a picture of you in a younger version of you with Dilla too, and you had which is one of my favorite pictures, where you just have your earphones on and you like vibing off one side, like what's in the earphone, and then he's on.
Oh no, that was from, we had a monthly. Was it a monthly or a weekly? No, it was a weekly.
Yeah.
Stunts. It was at this spot on Cass Avenue called Alvin's. And it was me, JD, and DJ Head, who was M's DJ. We had a weekly. It was ridiculous. People don't understand how much of an asshole this dude JD was, man. Like he could do it all so well. It was frustrating. Like he was doing, there's this really crazy DJ Cash Money routine from back in the day where he did like a juggle of this group home joint called The Realness.
Right.
Murdered it. Like it's a crazy routine, super intricate juggle. You know what I mean? A couple different patterns come in.
Right.
Motherfucker Jay did that shit at the club one night.
Wow. Yeah.
Like the illest DJ, you know, like juggle routine of that moment. Oh, he can do that too. I got y'all on these beats. I got y'all on these raps. I'm gonna whoop y'all ass on these tables real quick. You know what I mean? No, like we were all like, man, we were tripping that night. I can't remember a lot of things, but I can't remember a lot of that night. I just remember being like, man, are you fucking kidding me, dog?
Right, right.
Like, what the fuck, man? You got to be bad at something.
Yeah, I mean, if you put in what you measure in 18,000 hours and focused hours at that, right? Because that's what matters. Like intent hours. JD's beyond that.
Yeah.
Beyond that. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like it's the only thing he ever did, in a sense, right? When you kind of like, you know, like
when you see the videos when he got band-aids on his fingers and shit, what do you think the band-aids is from? It's from him
hitting the pads. Hitting the pads.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Holy cow. It's crazy.
Dedicated.
I saw the basement.
Not only a master, but like continually dedicated to elevating his craft. You know what I mean?
Where do you think that comes from?
One thing to master it and be like, okay, I got this.
Right. And
another thing to be like, I mastered it. You ain't shit though. Watch this. You know what I mean? And then to do that again in maybe 8 months, and then like 7-8 months after that,
right?
Just keep continuing to bop, 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 bop. Like, oh, you thought I was the best? Watch this, homie.
Holy cow.
Crazy.
Just blow your mind out the way.
And having a front seat to that shit was ridiculous, man. Like each tape shitted on the last one, and the last one shitted on like everything that existed at that moment.
Insane. And we're talking 90s here, like 90s into 2000s.
1995, 96, 97, 98, 99. You know what I mean? Like,
it was a great era of music. Like, I mean, of the music that was at least popular or surface level, it was like under, like, I still talk about it with my friends now. Like, you remember those times at night when, like,
yeah,
you know, and I was born late 80s, but, you know, I lived through the 90s, you know, like really grew up during the 90s. And, you know, it was amazing. I mean, like amazing music that I can't get out of my head now. So right. the fact what you're saying, him being, you know, basically in 2022 back then, it's pretty crazy. Like that doesn't even make sense to the average person, you know, hearing that, to be so far ahead of the time. And I guess you get those great ones, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, also though, I mean, the music don't make sense to the average person.
Correct.
And especially now more than ever, because Jesus Christ, we ain't gonna get on that old. I'm not gonna be the old man on the lawn, but a lot of really, really dope shit out these days.
Yeah,
it's a lot. It's a lot of funny shit. It's just the simplicity of it. Like, it's okay to think sometimes while you're listening to music. And I'm not saying you gotta have a fucking masterclass every time you put on a fucking joint.
Right.
But goddamn, it just seems like they're getting motherfuckers used to not thinking as much as possible.
Why do you think that is though? If you go deeper,
We all know what that is. That's just control issues and all that shit. You know what I mean? That's
got you.
all that crazy shit. You know what I mean?
I got you.
We don't need to go off on all that, but that's easily understood. Just the dumber they keep you, the more controllable you are. You know what I mean?
Understood. So in a sense, you like live in a really raw, unrestricted space with your music. Like you have like full control over what you're doing and what you're putting out and
100%.
And your time, right? Like in your time, which is, you know, obviously with kids, it makes it harder to do a lot of things. But, you know, when you sit down and, you know, and I've heard those industry talks. I don't know much about the music industry in terms of the depth and the volume of what's there, but it seems like it can be very very treacherous in a sense.
Well, it's not about music, it's about business. And yes. I just have no desire. I just seen so many of the homies like noses open up and it's kind of over for them after that.
Yeah.
Just creatively, because you lose some magic.
Right.
You lose innocence because you're chasing. You're trying to get into that shit as opposed to just being dope and just let it fucking happen, man. Or do it your fucking self.
Right.
Like that machine is disgusting, man.
And that process is hard though, right? To talk about that process of like, all right, you see the industry and you seem like you've had a good eye on it. Like you could sort of have that that intuition, right? To like, it doesn't seem like a good direction to go. I'm gonna do this. But talk about how difficult it is and what the success rate of a person who's trying to make it on their own in the music industry is really like. In the martial arts world, I teach in my garage right now, and I renovated this place out just to make it short and quick. But you know, I was coming from a school that, you know, had shut down during COVID, and I feel like, again, part of this conversation with you is inspired by what I do, just sort of off on different tangents, but I feel like I'm as dedicated as I ever could be to something. Obviously, you know, my kids, you know, my family, but to martial arts, is like I breathe it. So I can feel what you're talking about music through what I do.
Right.
And it's dope, the fact that we're even here having this conversation, being in two different sort of disciplines, if you will. But it's difficult when you're on your own, yeah, like to try to come up and rise through the ranks. Are you realistically trying to?
Once again, like, what ranks are we rising through? You know what I mean? Like it's not. There's no competition.
Right.
I'm not playing a game. I don't give a fuck, bro. Like I'm building my own shit. They ain't gonna realize for years.
Right.
And I'm completely fine with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Building some shit that's gonna last when I'm gone. And it's just, you know, I don't really know what you want to call it. A fucking museum, fine arts collection. You know what I mean?
The albums back there I'm looking at now, I'm moving left and right, just trying to like this stuff. I can't imagine what you got back there, man. I mean,
oh, that's easy. That's just the Dilla shit. I'm looking at my street corner catalog records over here on this wall. I'm like,
yes. And like,
it's just easy, man. Like this is what I was put on the planet for. Like, it's just too easy. Like my ears are too good, and it's just too easy for me to put a record together and
love it.
Fuck it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It ain't celebrations. It ain't like fun and games. It's the work.
Right. And you love you got your hands deep into the work. Are you still obsessed with it? And I
love it, man. I like giving motherfuckers their first record.
Wow.
I like giving kids their first record, or they could be adults. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But I like the innocence of that. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
yeah, I mean, we're 80 records in. I got 10 records in manufacturing right now. It's ridiculous, man. It's a lot of really exciting things. Jimetta Rose.
Yes.
The first releases on the record label was a series called The Gift.
Yes.
And it was all a bunch of beat tapes that I kind of handcrafted. I don't put out you can't send me a record and be like, you want to put this out? I'm selfish as fuck, yo. You know what I mean? Like real shit. It's like, hey man, give me all your beats.
Right.
All of them. I mean, send me 200 beats. At least 100. They send the beats. They go through 100 beats in maybe 30 minutes.
Wow.
Now we got 20 beats. All right. The most enjoyable part of the process is sequencing the album.
Gotcha.
Like figuring out, carving the path out. You know what I mean? That shit is fantastic.
Right.
Because I always hear music as far as building records, it's either something at the beginning, something in the middle, or something at the end. So I get the 20 joints, I go through them like, you know, BME right next to them.
Right.
Then we shuffle them around, then off one of the songs, titles of it, you know what I mean? I usually get a light bulb for an image for the cover.
Right.
I'm not a graphic designer, but the majority of the covers on the label are just very, very specifically executed from my vision. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Got hands on all this shit, man.
I love it. I love it.
You know what I mean? So the Jimetta Rose album we've been working on it for 8 years. It's fucking ridiculous. A labor of love. And a definite learning experience. And it's kind of just why I like doing beat records. You know what I mean? Because you don't have to worry about all that post-production, and with the beats, just give me the beats. I'm kind of really focused on the moment of creation.
Right.
I want you to take that shit and buffer it and clean it up and all that. I want to hear how it was when you made it. So that's what the Gift series was like. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And we recorded we picked a song off of each volume, and she wrote and did a song. For a couple of them, she picked 2. It's like 13 songs total.
Right.
And it was so fucking good. It was incredible. But I learned how difficult it is to properly mix and master a record when all you have for the beats is like a shitty stereo 2-track. No stems. I mean, sometimes MP3s, not even waves.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And it went through like 4 or 5 engineers. Nobody could find that balance because you got 30 plus vocal tracks.
Right.
That you're trying to balance with. You can't manipulate the stereo 2-track at all. If you have the stems, you can balance it all out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Super learning experience. We had given up on the fucking record for the most part. Like, fuck. It's just not ever going to be there. And then I remember my homie Magnetic that worked at the disc on the east side when I recorded the Elzai Out of Focus EP. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. He owns that studio now.
Wow.
And he's still, you know, on site weekly working on shit. And if anybody had experience in working with just awful quality audio files, it was my man who works at the fucking #1 like rap studio on the east side of Detroit for 20 years.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck, I'll send that shit to Mags. Send it to him. And he got that shit right. And it's fucking coming out in 2 weeks. And it's unbelievable.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
It's crazy. It's like postpartum.
It's a labor of love, like you said. Right?
Really fucking good. We're dropping the pre-order tomorrow at noon on the website. This is going to be posted after, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But the album comes out February 22nd. StreetCornerSCM.com, limited vinyl. StreetCornerMusic.bandcamp.com. Then we got the soundtrack Flips Volume 1 just dropped recently. That shit is, oh my God. That shit will give any producer nightmares for the rest of his life.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
What else we got coming? We got we got my man Quelle Chris. His first album, Shotgun Sleek Rifle, 10-year anniversary. Never been on vinyl. Super honored to drop. It's the homie shit, but I got a couple joints on there and Rock's on one of them.
Beautiful.
Rock Marcy, it's fucking famous. It's a really good album. Mike and Keys album. Formula One. That's going to be coming probably like May. Victory Lap, Mike and Keys. They produced the whole Victory Lap album for Nipsey. Once again, had him give me like 150 beats.
And then
that shit is crazy. That shit is.
That's so cool, man.
It's super serious, man. Like it's. Woo. After Nipsey passed, we linked up, and I went to the studio, and they had me sit in the fucking chair that Nipsey sits in, and he looks at me and he goes, "We want to do an instrumental record on Street Corner Music."
Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, well, guess what the fuck we about to do then?
right now.
Yo, that shit was super wild though. Super left field out the blue. You know what I mean? Like, and them kids are so ridiculously talented. Like, they actually just dropped an instrumental record for Warner Friday.
Beautiful.
This past Friday, but it's a little bit more contemporary. The next one is.
I got you. It'll go back to doing what you're doing. I
got
you.
My shoes and shit. You know what I mean?
I'm about to use my hands like that this week.
And then fucking Stroh's got a James Brown remix album coming out. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that. I've heard a lot of the stuff you said. I got bits and pieces from looking in the internet, but not that.
Yeah, so I got him an official James Brown remix album on Universal. Like
Nice.
Officially sanctioned. And that was a crazy drawn out process too, but that shit comes out next Friday, this coming Friday.
Holy cow, man. You guys got a lot going on, like for real. Like
I'm playing catch up, man, because last year, the first year and a half of this shit, I was not doing anything.
Right.
So
was that
catching
hard?
up a lost time.
Was that hard creatively for you? Like because I kind of did the same thing at the very beginning, like just kind of hit that funk where I was like, well, everybody else isn't doing, and I'm not a guy like that. I'm not looking to go off of what other people do. I do my own thing.
Right.
99.9% of the time. And it was hard to be you had to kind of find, I felt like your own, you had to inspire yourself like at the very beginning of 2020, like and if you didn't do it, you couldn't wait on somebody else to do it because, I teach that, you can't sit here, you can get inspired by what I see. I go see Jackie Chan do something. I don't go do exactly what I saw. Mind you, I can't do what Jackie Chan does, but I know I can pay that same mindfulness to the details in my craft. I just pull that energy out and extrapolate. And I feel like a lot of people who were creative had to really dig down and identify whether they were truly creative at the beginning of all this, because if you were, you kind of just found a way to get it done. And some people, I guess, stopped, like kind of put a full stop on it, but then they got better. Like,
man, I had to get on Twitch, man. Like, I was like, man, I got to play some fucking records.
Yo, I follow you on Twitch, man. I was trying to find stuff. And I was like, I heard Jay playing some rare JD. I was at work, like, hold on a second, like.
Yeah, that's my happy place now, man. That's my fucking. Yeah, Sunday nights and Tuesday nights, it's like the night before Christmas. I'd be like, woo, tomorrow.
You do your thing on there, man. I gotta give it to you. Do your thing, and it's like, it feels like you're having fun while you're playing the music. Like, just the order of the music, so to speak. Again, I'm not musically, I'm not very specific and detailed about the music, but I know what I like and I know what I don't. Very like hard stop. And
yeah.
I know when someone enjoys doing what they're doing. And I know I got people I've been teaching for a long time. I know when cats are sitting in the class, like thinking about dinner or going home or,
right.
And I know who's there, who's like, because the hardest part, right, is to like, even getting into the creative process, I feel, you correct me if I'm wrong, is like leaving whatever just happened to you before you sat down back there. Because you can't dig into what you're doing if you're just, if you're operating on that level. And I feel like, again, that's like, I do martial arts, you do music, but they are so parallel, in terms of how to get into the meat and the potatoes of kind of like the creative process, man.
Man.
It's really fascinating to me. Is there any person in particular that you collaborated with in your time that you were like, whoa, I can't, I mean, you don't strike me as a starstruck person. Like, you'd be like, yeah, if you think JD's like a regular guy, I'm like, he must not be starstruck too often.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Like, is there someone in particular? Pete Rock, maybe? Well, who's like another one of my favorites? I would put Pete Rock in my top.
When I first met Pete, it was like, of course.
Pete.
When I met Primo the first time, but as far as like working,
yeah.
I mean, even I was never over Jay's crib playing the beats. I was never over there for that. I was never over there trying to, I was over there like this. What you got for me, bro? What you got for me, dog?
Right. Love it.
Like, you hear, he don't want to listen to this shit. You know what I mean? You hear what he just made?
Right.
You hear that beat? So when like he hit me for the MCA album, he was like, hey man, like, bring me a tape. I'm like, fuck, for real? And then to have the beat that he picked have been it's the last beat on the tape.
That's pretty crazy.
That was fucking so stressful, you know what I mean?
That's pretty crazy.
But then if he picked one, he was like, come to the studio, dump it tomorrow. You get a check this week from Universal. First half, you get the second half when the album comes out. The album never came out.
Right.
But I got one, so I knew I could get another one.
Correct.
I went to the crib and I worked for like the whole week. You know what I mean?
That mentality, man. That mentality for sure.
I got this one and I knew he was gonna fuck with it.
Right.
Went over there, press play. Come and drop that shit tomorrow. Get another check. Whoop, whoop.
I love that, man. And doing what you love to do, right? Like just straight doing
what man.
You love to do, straight up, like just organic, like
you know what's some bullshit though is when they say, how do they word it? If you do what you love, you don't have to work a day for the rest of your life.
That's not true. Confucius said that. I'm like, that's not true.
Confucius is a fucking piece of shit, man. That's a lie. You gotta work way harder.
That's been my experience.
People don't understand this. Like, you gotta keep it safe.
Yeah.
You gotta insulate it. You know what I mean? You can't, if the love gets fucked up, it's over with.
Right.
There's nothing more important than protecting that. Whatever innocence you got left in your craft, you got to protect it.
That's powerful.
When that's gone, who cares? If you don't love it no more, you ain't gonna keep doing it if you don't love it. So I'm fucking, this shit is, that's why I'm such a fucking dick when it comes to all this, man. Like, I don't care. I know I could probably do more with these records and playlists and all that bullshit and chasing all that. I don't care about that though. I got into this as a response to people just being satisfied with a fucking compliment on the internet.
Right.
It's like, that shit don't mean fucking nothing, man. Where the fucking record's at? You're dope, homie. Like, put that shit on plastic. You want to put a record out? Yeah, okay, dope. You know what I mean? Then you get cats sending you fucking videos of fucking mom in tears. Like, it's the first time their mom believed in what they do.
Right.
Because their mom's always been like, where's the record at?
Right, 100%.
Put that record in their mom's hands, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like when you live and I don't get to have, it's sad because as I get older, I'm in my mind, I'm ahead of I spend a lot of time like thinking in my own mind. So like, I want to have a lot of conversations that I have with myself outwardly, right? Like that depth. And I find that you can't find that many people you can really have those meaningful conversations with. I mean, you can, but they're few and far in between.
Yeah.
And when you finally do, like, honestly assess yourself, you have to really, like, that what you said was so powerful. Like, you have to protect the little bit of innocence that you might have left, because you end up monetizing, right? If you're a basketball player, you love basketball, someone's inevitably coming up to you like, when are you going to be in the NBA?
Right.
And then all of a sudden the innocence is not so innocent, because now you've attached, whenever you monetize a hobby, it subtracts from the love a little bit. I find, I don't know if you agree with me, but that's what I find is, like, you find ways to exploit that innocence.
See, that's the one word that rules the industry, and that's the whole centerpiece, and you know what I mean? That's what especially now more than ever.
Right.
But let's just make these fucking records, man. Some of it goes, some of it don't.
Right.
At the least it all breaks even.
Right.
I've lost on a couple. It ain't crazy.
Right.
Some of the shit gets really good traction on streaming.
Right.
That a lot's, you know what I mean? I've paid motherfuckers thousands and thousands of dollars. It's dope. I love this shit.
Right.
It's the best part. You know what I mean? Because outside of physically creating a motherfucker's music for them, putting that fucking check in their hand, there's nothing in this world that increases confidence more than putting some money in a motherfucker's hand.
100%. There's a movie.
And not like in advance, putting like their earnings in their hand.
Right.
And it's like a real number. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they're like, what?
There's a movie on Netflix that speaks exactly what you just said. It's just like, this is great. It's I forget what it is, because I don't sit down that often. So when I forget what it was, but there was a scene in this movie, and it's on now. It's about an artist and kind of just finding his way through love and his own sort of desire for art, what he's willing to sacrifice, all that kind of stuff, right? Young guy, and he gets to a point where he goes through this process of, dating this woman, and still trying to balance out finding the time to get creative, which takes hours, right, of your own time.
Like Mo Better Blues.
Yeah, like Mo Better Blues. Yeah, very much so like that. One of my favorite movies too, dog. I don't even know how you knew that.
Yo, I turned that movie off when he leaves the club. That's how I watch it. I don't watch the ending. I seen it like as soon as I owned a copy of that. I hate that ending though. I hate the happy ending.
Right. You'd rather
a dark person, right? I like when he burned in the club. But you live like that's where it should have ended, right?
Right. That's where you live in that world where you see that as that's like, I could put you on.
That's the reality, yo.
Right. I could put you on Vogue interview right now and be like, all right, down, like, how they have the celebrities sort of watch and be like, hey, what's realistic about this? What's not? You could be like, all right, right there, pause. He leaves the club. He doesn't have no kids. He goes and does what he has to do.
Don't make that phone call, bro. Don't make that phone call.
Yeah, he gets the busted lip, and he he continues to make the music and not go that direction. So that's cool. But this movie really talked to me, because that one point that you made where you put the check in their hands, this guy got a check from this chick at this museum exhibit, this exhibit that he did. And before she slid the check over to him, it was the way she did it. She slid the check over to him and she pulled it back. She's like, don't let this change the quality of your work. And she gave him real number. It was like, they didn't show you the numbers like, to the audience, but the dude's face was like his jaw was on the floor by his feet. Like, yo, this is what, my time is worth, in a monetary sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yes, that's great, but also,
that can easily have the most devastating consequences on your entire career.
Shoes, you took it straight out of my mouth right there. That was the best way to word it. Yeah, 100%. Because then it's like, all right, well, because you need money to eat and you need money to do practice.
That's how I see. I watched it with hip hop.
Right.
My favorite era is 92 to like late 96, late 92 to late 96.
Okay.
And I remember a specific day that the shit felt different, where it was already like a little shift, you know what I mean? It was like money and motherfuckers sticking to the dope shit, and motherfuckers seeing the opportunity that hip hop was becoming commercially, just diving in, you know what I mean? And it became a fork in the road, you know what I mean?
Right.
The third Friday in May of 1996.
Wow.
After that, like, it's crazy. I've always remembered that. It always stuck out. People talk about like 2000s, and I'm like, yo, it's 96.
96.
It was just something missing. It's not that something changed. It's just from then on, there was just a real special ingredient that was like, it just disappeared in the greater scheme of things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like genetically, it was crazy.
That sounds very similar to I forget the person who says it, who did say it, but I've always held on to the sentiment, and it was something to this degree of an artist knows whether a work is complete or not by whether there's something left to add, but whether there's something when there's nothing left to subtract.
Right.
And that hit, I could never forget. I was in DC again. I was in DC way before I, went to this exhibit, and I still remember looking at that. We probably like in a Lego museum or something like that. And it was just like, even as everything around me was childlike, that quote right there was like speaking to me, even just because I lived through my art. I lived through what I do. I lived through teaching. I lived through being honest to the practice. Because there is no faking what I do. I literally have to be able to physically replicate this from day to day. So even if I won, I don't remember the last time I won a championship. I'm looking at one of these trophies here, 2017. That doesn't mean anything to me. It's just a decorative piece here, like just to show that, like, I got somewhere, but stuff on the wall, I don't care about any of that stuff. My teacher's on the wall over there, which is more important than me over here. But, it's like, I don't hold on to that. I'm one of those guys where I hit a finish line of what I do, but while everyone's clapping for me in that regard, I'm already on to the next obstacle.
Yeah, it's like I did that, but it's like I'm not looking at it. I'm looking this way.
Yeah, I'll have a drink. It lasts as long. I always say this, especially the people who won like big things. I'm like, let it last as long as a drink.
Right.
And then when you get to the bottom, go on to the next thing. How many people do you come across, right? Like that hang on to stuff where like they're just talking about the past all the time.
Man.
The past. I mean, even me talking about, that's why I'm not trying to spend a whole lot of time on Dilla, even though like that is one of the things I'm interested in. I'll have you back on, I'm sure, like, if you grace us with your presence again. But there's a reason.
You're talking about like repetitively. Like different things. Like always
I would love to have you up. Yeah, sporadic. I mean, listen, if I can, listen, when you text me, like, hey, text me, I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Like, and I was like, and I showed my son who you were, both of them. And I was like, you don't know him. I said, but I've been listening to him talk and do music for like years and years. I was like, so like, when you get to a point where you have conversations with somebody, like, again, I shot a shot at you. I don't know if I was going to be able to do it, but it's something interesting about. I did another interview with someone earlier, and they live in Greece. They're like, it's like some equivalent of what you are practically, right? In your field, and just doing what I do. And I didn't realize when I went back in Facebook Messenger that was a talk that I initially reached out in 2013. It's the power of persistence. You said that the other day on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I reposted it. I was like, it's exactly what it is. Like, you could get shot down 9 times, 10 times, 11 times. You may get it the 45th time.
Yeah.
But stay with it. And I'm just trying to have conversation. Like I'm trying to learn and pick up and diversify my interests. I love to talk to different people. That's what this platform is for.
Right.
And obviously to promote what you're doing too. You've been the legs for so many people, like I feel like, it'd be nice to have someone, do the same thing on your end, And
I appreciate it, brother. Gratitude, of course.
Oh, listen,
yeah, man, we're just both lucky to do what the fuck we love to do, man. Like,
love it.
I'm going for 12 hours tomorrow, yo.
12 hours. Holy cow.
And I'm looking forward to it. You know what I mean?
I love that.
I'm gonna go nuts.
I love that. I love that. What do you?
Because tomorrow's a super heavy day. Like it's fucked up. Like, like Dilla changed a lot of things. He changed Valentine's Day, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did.
Well, for those who know, a lot of people don't really know that personally, but he got buried on Valentine's Day. You know what I mean?
I saw that post. I did. I saw that post before we yeah. So were you there? Were you present for that? At the
absolutely.
Yeah, gotcha.
I was in New York
when he died. Yeah,
I was in New York. Woke up over here. Like
yeah.
We was talking about that on the stream. Like a lot of people say that, you know, J Dilla changed my life, bro.
There are shirts like that.
I'm like, well, the story of the dude that made that shirt originally is a super G. That's Dexter from Germany.
Gotcha.
Really good kid, an OG fan of Dilla. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he made that shirt and wore it at that last show.
Gotcha.
Before I think Stone Throw just kind of jacked that design and bought him a sandwich. But what were we talking about? I lost my step.
We were talking about Dilla's funeral and getting buried.
Oh yeah, how people, you know, the whole J Dilla changed my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the sentiment, but it's like, you know, it's like kind of a movement a little bit. It's kind of funny. Change your ear, maybe.
Right.
Change your snares.
Right.
Change, you know what I'm saying? Like from our initiation, and you know, God bless all day. You know, I'm honored, super honored to be that. But you know, went to the funeral. I was supposed to be moving to New York. Like he's responsible for me moving to LA. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's crazy for me having children out here. You know what I mean? Like for me having just the whole finally making the decision to leave. Yeah. People just throw the words around, you know what I mean? Like you could be a fan. You don't have to be like the biggest fucking fan. It's not like we ain't pulling our dicks out over here. You know what I mean? It's such a dick measuring contest. It's so corny, yo. Like keeping it a buck. Like a lot of this fucking JD shit has gotten super corny. Like it's really weird stand shit.
Right.
You don't see it with other people. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's more of like when they taking that statement. Let's analyze that, right? Like J Dilla changed my life. I feel like for the first few years of listening to him, and I mean, I
love Pete Rock. I love Pete Rock, bro.
Right.
Pete Rock was my shit. By and far favorite hip hop artist, producer ever.
Right.
I would never say that he changed my life though. I'd be like, yo, that was my shit. Ooh, the Pete Rock beats were crazy.
Right. You know, or change your relationship with music, which then in turn changes your relationship. Because as you know, I'm sure you've been in sessions, even producing things on your own where like
damn, see, you just caught me again. Because watch this, on Christmas Eve of 1992, you can't sleep the night before Christmas.
Right.
And I went through all of the booklets for the CDs I had like 300 CDs, but the Pete Rock and the Mecca and the Soul Brother, I wrote down every sample. I was just like reading through the notes, but when Mecca and the Soul Brother came up, I wrote down all the samples and the songs that they were, and that was the first time that I dug for samples.
Right.
So technically, fucking Pete Rock changed my life too.
Right. Right.
I mean, digging for records before I was really DJing any of that shit. Now I got thousands of these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Yo, so I'm on an episode of Crate Diggers. And we're like, how many records you have? He's like, oh, well, 30,000. What? I'm like, what, 30,000? I'm like, oh. It's like, but you can't even, when you try to ascribe a number to something in real life where it doesn't seem possible, like you hear the Holocaust numbers and it's numbers that don't even make sense. You're like,
Questlove said he had 200,000 the other day. 200,000. So I have like 7,500 records, maybe.
200.
7,500. He has 30 times the amount of records that I have.
Oh, word! Like, but that's crazy. And like, and you had a flood from what I understand.
I had a couple of floods, man.
Oh.
Yeah, in Detroit, of course. That shit don't happen out here. Out here, you know what I mean?
In the D, I got you. But you still love the D. You still,
yeah, absolutely. That's home sweet home, man.
Right, I got you. I haven't been there, but I feel like even in Jay's music, you can hear a place that you haven't been to, kind of like when you read a book and you try to ascribe the visuals to it. I feel like you can sort of walk through Detroit through a lot of those albums, Conant Gardens, and a lot of those stuff. What was it, Fantastic Volume? I think it was Fantastic Volume 2. I think D'Angelo was on that, one of the Tell Me Things. Not trying to show you to prove that I know, but just because I've been such a fan of the music, and it's like, it's cool to be able to be a fan of something where you can it makes you delve into it for years. We're talking like, let me see, it's 06, he died.
Volume 1 is 25 years old. That shit is disturbing.
25 years old.
That's disturbing, yo. Like, I come on, man. Like, come on. Like, no, like, I remember selling them tapes at fucking Car City.
Right.
East Side, Car City Classics record shop. I used to work there with Ed.
Right.
I gave one of the tapes to the Japanese dude from Manhattan Records, and that led to the first 12-inch. Fucking I Don't Know 12-inch. You know what I mean?
I Don't Know. Yeah. Holy cow. And Melodies and Memories was like a slam in, but I hear a lot of artists talk about that, like there and whatnot. So I know you had been there for a while, did a stint, and did some great. What was like, I guess, the digging process like? I don't know if you can even do it anymore, because I don't know where you find them in stores, but what was it like? Did you ever like dig with Jay, or like, did he teach you?
He would come to the spot. I would be working at the record store, so he would come and pull up
and just boom, boom, boom. Here's what I want, and he would take, I guess, right, all the stuff that people would be like, oh, that's no good. He'd be like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
He had his little shopping moods. Sometimes he would leave with one record.
Right.
Sometimes he'd leave with, 300 records.
300.
Yeah.
Holy cow. And this is the time when they were like, what, like, how much per record we realistically talking about?
They could be anywhere from $1 to,
right,
20, $25.
Because now you can get you buy a vinyl that's like $80. You know what I mean? Like if you
shit is out of control now, man. Jesus.
It's real. I know that's a real number because I looked it up. My father still got just holding on to a few vinyls, nowhere near obviously your collection, but everyone holds on to something from their earlier part of their life, a trait
memories
or something. Yeah, I still have a cassette tape hanging around somewhere here, but it's pretty amazing that even at the end of Jay's life too, like getting to the end of that timeline where he was working from his hospital bed, like dying.
He was listening to records and shit, and like maybe recording shit into the computer. But that borders on urban legend. That story has been told and spread and passed by a lot of different sources. But when you talk to those that were like right there in person, right sitting there, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's like questionable. He was doing things, but he wasn't like making a beat taping that bitch. He wasn't like,
I got you.
It wasn't like that.
You got you. Yeah. And I'm with that because I feel like that's the most real. Now, who am I? But that's what I feel is the more realistic take on things. Yeah. In a situation where your health is, really coming to more than question, right? It's actually on the line. I feel like it would be hard. Like, I mean, if I can't stand, really, I can't even do my job. I could sit and teach a class of hundreds of people, no problem. But, then my credibility is sort of questioned if you're new, so, and taking class with me the first time, right? But if you're a guy of his stature, it's almost like at the same time, you can believe it, right? Like, even though you may not have been there, it's like, I could see that. However, this is probably more likely in the situation that you described.
Well, he died and all of a sudden everybody was still a fan.
Yeah.
Donuts is the most incredible thing anybody ever heard.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Y'all a little bit late. Y'all just a little bit late.
A little bit late.
Not even no like gatekeeper shit.
Right.
Like homie's dead.
Right.
Homie been busting his ass, whooping everybody's ass for the better part of a decade.
Right. Running circles.
And now all of a sudden, this motherfucker's on the ground and y'all paying attention.
Right.
You know what I mean?
When
I heard Donuts the first time, I was thoroughly unimpressed.
Got you.
Because I was like, I never heard anything that was so influenced. Like that shit sounded like a Mad Lib tape to me.
Interesting. I got
you. Know what I mean? Like I was like, there was a few joints where I was like, that's dope.
See you cry?
Like 4 or 5 joints that I rock with. You know what I mean? Like Wolf sent me the fucking promo CD and the cardboard sleeve. I had that shit way before. And I was like, ugh. Right. But when he passed, everything changed. That's when the whole mythology and the
gotcha surrounding the man
album kind of opened up, and you listen to it a whole different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this book that just came out with again, shout out to the author Dan Charnas, who I follow on IG. I guess that's part of that process is to sort of like lay out, you know, and he was talking about. I've listened to a few interviews with him, specifically with this book, and it's great. Like it's been marketed so well. Like, you know, like I've seen it on billboards. I've seen it in. I shared it like a few days. I was like, I was just, you know, I feel like a promoter, kind of like yourself. Like I'm sort of maybe digital legs to get like new ears on that. Like just how you said. And for me, it's like it's awesome to expose somebody to something that you really are.
Well, when you're passionate, not everybody's passionate about things.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
You has people that listen.
Right.
When you have people that listen and you're passionate, I booze cheesesteaks, like everything that I love, I tell everybody over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Multiple times, right? Like just kind of, like you said, cramming it down. Like, hey, you got to come try this. You got to come do this.
Yeah.
And it's all for a good benefit, right? It's pretty cool. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like when I finally, I'm excited to get my hands on the book. I'm really excited to be sitting here talking to you. What would you give people who are not just in the music industry, but people who are a lot of people are trying to find themselves these past 2 years in terms of like, hey, working this 9 to 5 is not working it has made me realize, hey, I like this, or, you know, I really had a knack for this and then I got away from it. What maybe tips would you give from your time in music and producing music, which is art? You basically produce art.
Well, I mean, honestly, and this might be fucked up, but to me, it's a very, very simple answer. Figure it out.
Gotcha. 3 words.
Figure it out, and whatever you can't figure out, and this is just as equally as important to the first statement.
Right.
Ask questions.
There you go.
Don't just ask anybody questions. You know what I mean? You know, like the most important thing I was ever told in school was my government teacher, my junior year, Dr. Butler, and he taught us to be source critical. You know what I mean?
Like that.
Where you have to be, you know, we all, especially now, we all digest so many random bits of information.
Right. Yeah.
You gotta be careful what you accept without further investigation. You know what I mean? You gotta be aware of where all this shit is coming from. So just like that, when you're asking these questions, try to get to the source and ask as close to the source as you can to ask those questions.
Right. That's a great way to, very simple. It's not like it's far from effective, because that's kind of the only way you can really get there at the end of the day.
And of course, the age-old cliche, write the shit down.
Right. Does that really work? Right.
I mean,
gotcha.
Visualizing it.
Yes.
It ain't shit until you see it.
Right.
For me, for a long time, it sounded like space shit. Right. But it's super easy. Like it's literally almost kind of nowhere until you put it on a piece of paper, right. Or just type it in your fucking notes on your computer. And you ain't gotta write it down with a pen. You just have to be able to visually, you know what I mean?
A feedback loop to yourself, effectively, right? Yeah. Like, you know, like I look at it every day, like boom, You know, okay, this is what, and then giving yourself, I always say, to complement what you said, which I thought was great. I always tell people to give yourself fewer options. Give yourself fewer options. If it's like, you know, if you put, you know, what Elon Musk says, if you give yourself 3 days to clean your house, it'll be clean in 3 days. If you give yourself 30 minutes to clean your house, it'll be clean in 30 minutes.
The short is doing the work.
Yeah, correct, right? And I thought about that, and I was like, how can I translate now? I don't want to like just quote him in a class. How can I make it? How can I take because Marshall?
Well, no, quote him because he's current events, and they'll respond to that. Like,
1,000%. I was just trying to make it for the 4, 5, and 6 year olds who have like no idea how to spell that.
that weirdo that sells the cars with the funny hair.
Yeah, exactly. With the big T on the car, they'll be like, oh yeah. But I try to make real life, again, take things from people who, in martial arts, we do this all the time, right? It's like, I find a guy that does this really well. Our bodies are pretty cool because you take an x-ray, we all the same. So, all the divisions that we have here, one of my biggest creeds, it's on my welcome packets, is differences die at the door here. I don't care if you're white, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're Indian, Chinese, whatever. I don't care. If you're putting this uniform on, you are part of my extended family.
Yeah, you're my student, goddammit. All y'all my student.
Correct, period. And that includes the parents as well. But it's like understanding the sort of uniformity that we have when we're here. There are differences, I understand, that are present, but we can sort of like, we can celebrate those sort of in an understanding on the mats together. We're humans. This is all human. I'm teaching you one thing in many different ways. It's not
what's the wildest thing you've had to deal with as far as a parent making an overreaction?
I would say, I don't even really know, to be honest with you. We were at a karate championship today. I was texting, right? And I was glad you got back to me. I was glad you were feeling better, actually. We were scoring at this championship. And some of the parents, my wife was telling me, some of the parents, I can't hear it because I'm so far away and into it, because I love fighting. I love the art of it. I love what goes into it. The visualization you were talking about. We have to do that all the time. I have to tell it to my kids. I tell it to my own children here. I was like, you have to see it here. Even if you just stand in the room and look at the wall, you got to visualize exactly how this is going to happen. Defense, all the stuff that goes into it. But parent-wise, I mean, I can't pinpoint one. I just know, principally speaking, I've had people been like, yo, why'd you score it this way? My son punched first and yada, yada. I was like, that's not the point. The point was what I saw, not what you saw first, what I saw first. Because when I go to a bar, and just like when you go into a club and you hear music, you hear someone else DJ, with the general population, they're hearing something completely different than what your ears are picking up on. 1,000%, right? So when I
don't know. I mean, technically, we're hearing the same shit,
right? But way in which you're hearing it.
Well, no, how can I say it without sounding like a real dick? You know what I mean? Like,
the truth.
It's like a motherfucker on a college genius reading level, reading like a knockoff Dr. Seuss book.
Got you.
Your education is so much further, like
what goes into this.
No, you know how much more there is that out there for us, how much more is available. I never understood why you would want to go to the club and hear the same shit you heard all the day on the radio, and you hear that shit every 3 hours over and over and over again. Pretty much. Like, if you're a DJ, you're supposed to inform and educate, in my opinion. That's not how anyone else look. Everyone else would be like, nah, you're wrong. Play the crowd. Fuck the crowd. Great DJs clear dance floors. Right. Take risks. I mean, there's nothing better than playing somebody their favorite shit for the first time.
I love that. And
I'm not trying to play you the shit that's hardwired into your brain that you need to hear because you ain't heard it in 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
but that's cool that you take that like sort of like instructional approach. And I felt I felt like I was going to get that, but then without even having to talk to you.
I was going to be a teacher. I got kicked out when I got kicked out of college. I was going to be a teacher.
Gotcha. What were you going to teach, if you don't mind me asking?
I wasn't sure, but
right, for something.
High school, like younger high school, like 9th to 10th grade.
Gotcha. That's a critical period of time, right? You got to catch people as their minds are about to like almost close up. I tell people the brain stops growing really at 25 or fully formed. It's not fully formed till 25. So if that's a true scientific fact, then I find if you kind of keep, let's use a white belt mentality because that's where everybody starts, right? If you keep a white belt mentality on, I wear a black belt every day, but I tell people, keep a white belt around here when you go outside. And literally say that. I'm like, yo, even parents, I'm like, yo, keep a white belt. Because your conclusions are based on so many things. But if you stop trying to reach conclusions and keep your mind open to just being sensitive to the information, I feel like you grow so much faster and in so much better directions than someone that's just looking to, sound good to the other person eavesdropping on the other side of the room.
Right.
It makes sense, being real. I've seen people do that where I'm like, you didn't have to say it like that. You could have made it simpler. But I feel
a lot of people just want to be the same as everyone else.
Right. But
when I say a lot, we're talking about a lot of the population. You know what I mean? Like really educated listeners. That's why I stopped getting upset about the whole underrated or that whole approach, because it's such a small fraction of the population that's really paying attention to good music anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I like the way you worded that. I like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. I just felt like you had an instructional vibe, like, just in how you.
I've really impressed myself. I get in the zone sometimes where I like kind of just turn into that.
Right.
And I'll like kind of be done after the conversation. I'll be like, damn, baby, did you hear me talking to him like that? Right?
But you really like, you study like what
I can talk, I keep this shit so casual that my language is always very casual. Yeah. But I could talk some boardroom shit, like, but it's not by, I don't decide it. It just comes out sometimes. It's creepy.
I got you. Hey, you surprise yourself every now and then, right? That's what you really need to say. Like, just be like, hey, I can walk in there. But just being able, the ability, again, another concept, being able to adapt, right, to your situation and your circumstance. I saw people today that were, probably no big 3 feet tall, put people who were 5 feet tall on the floor. Like, I was like, yo, yeah. One of the things I said, I was like, I don't try to preach anything, in big areas. I keep it fairly simple. Like, I feel like me and you have the same lingo. I just don't do it on my end here on the podcast, but like my language is pretty free reign. I'm like, yo, just try to keep it simple. Size really doesn't matter.
Right.
You see that today, not because this person is trying to take it easy. Look at his face, it's red. I can't even turn red. So like, this guy's huffing and puffing. And this little girl who's 6 years old, she was really impressive. And she just threw this guy on the floor. I mean, several opponents, like just like pop, and I'm like, yo, that's wild how she could be this tall and really, and make I feel like they make bigger statements than I can. Like, I'm supposed to be able to beat you up. I'm 6'4", 225 pounds. What do you expect me to be able to do if I can move fast and I have some precision? Yeah. I don't feel like I'm an impressive, the longer I practice, I feel like the less substantial I feel, if that makes sense. Like, it's not about, I'm less impressive to myself. I feel like I'm more like, my job is to be the conduit, like you said, I love that word, to be the conduit for other people to access this, which they don't even know that they don't even know that this experience exists yet.
There you go, once again.
They don't even know. They're like, oh, this is just commercial, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not commercial, I'm in a garage. I don't know how commercial you can get. I know there's levels to that, right? You can do the same thing industry-wise here, right? Like, put the big billboard signs up. I'm not really about that. but I am about talking to people real and keeping it simple. Like there's not a whole lot that goes into this. You show up, you do it again tomorrow, you show up again, you work a little bit harder than yesterday, come back next week. It's really what we're doing. It's all we're doing. And and the big part, right, is you're trusting, just like your listeners trust you to provide, that great music that you pump out. Like, when I type in house shoes, I know I'm going to be in for, on Twitch, I know I'm going to be in. I can relax and lean back a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's a pleasure, man. Seriously. It's it's a pleasure listening to your music and listening to you talk over the years. I've listened to your interviews, as many as I could. Yeah. Not all preparing for this podcast. I really didn't do a whole lot of preparation.
Did you see the Portland joint? The one recently? The one that I did for the morning show in Portland?
Did you have the camo on? Was it a camo jacket? Was that it? Was that far?
It was me and Rev Shines, and it was
I didn't see that.
Who was Dread talking?
I did not see. I didn't see that one. I didn't get into. I covered ground from whatever popped up on YouTube. I typed in house shoes. And I was like, let me see if this guy is even like I didn't even know what it was. Like it's just a random thought before I went. I was like, let me see. I was looking for someone who actually would be really. I look for people who are going to be really informational. Like. You have a long history with music, and it's like I feel like you have that. I didn't even know about the teacher thing. Like I'm an instructor, you have a teacher vibe to you. It's like you understand things like a master understands from what I read, understands things from the inside out. And you've got that whole, you've got the process locked down, but you've also got the collaborative history, and you still have, I guess, the love for. Do you still have the innocent love for what?
Well, something that's super duper crazy. Are you familiar with Sarah?
I am not. No, I'm sorry.
Shafiq Hussein. So Sarah.
Oh wait, yes, I am. I listened to it in college. Yeah.
So
yeah,
the first time me and Shafiq talked, he called me master teacher. And that shit fucked me up. Because Sarah is fucking cold, you know what I mean? And I know him spiritually. He's on spiritual shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That shit fucked me up, yo. Master teacher. I was like, but it was a confidence builder because I was like, you know what, you goddamn right. Like for real. Like, you know what I mean? It's not arrogance, it's not competence, it's just understanding what the fuck you done did in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like I put a lot of work in, man. Yep. And you go through things that can erase situations and circumstances that you provided over the years. And sometimes you just gotta really soak up all that you've done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we forget the things that we've done in the accomplishment, even if it's the smallest thing. And if you ain't done shit, get to work.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to. That's a great way to leave things off. That's kind of what we're about, man. Yo, I don't want to take up too much of your time, man. I feel like I could talk to you all for the rest of the week. I really am honored to have you here, bro. It's like a dream come true, man. I mean, like I said, I've listened to your music, I've heard you speak. I love the vibes, the energy I got just from hearing stuff. I feel like I have a good filter for good people, and I'm really grateful to have any of your time talking to me here. So it's really been a pleasure. But thank you, brother, so much. I want to talk to you for like a second or two after I close out the podcast. So stay with me, guys. This is episode 11 of the Mastery Podcast. You have DJ House Shoes over here on the other end. Thank you so much, brother. Salute.
Respect, brother.
Peace out.